A little disclaimer before we get rolling here. You're about to hear some ads. They are all from local entities that want to support the baseball community. A lot of these guys have deep connections. We're players themselves, so if you see having a need for any one of these services, please go patronize these guys. Thank you. This episode is being brought to you by Eric Easley of the Easley Real Estate Team with the Real Estate Group. This team consists of Eric, Jamie Murphy, and Caitlin Fry. They can be reached at 217-971-3256 or at theeasleysalesteam.com. Eric was a standout quarterback and shortstop at Southeast back in the mid-90s and later starred at Western Illinois in baseball. Also one of the best umpires around this area for many years, teaming up with Bobby Erickson. He sold houses for all kinds of baseball dudes in the area. The Knadler brothers, Justin and Jason, Ryan Murphy, Todd Schneller, the Savota family. And when it was time for Corey to sell his house and buy his new house, there's only one place he went. That's Eric Easley and the Easley Real Estate Team. So go see these guys for all your real estate needs. We really appreciate you. This episode is brought to you by Glisten Heating and Air. You can reach them at 217-341-3129 or visit glistenheatingandair.com. That's GLISSON. This is owned and operated by Gibbs Gleason himself, a member of the 2000 Pleasant Plains baseball team that were state champs. That's the Dusty Bensko era, former guest. This guy's in the baseball community. He helps coach his son, who's in the local travel scene. This truly is the pros pro for HVAC in the area. I mean, this is the who's who of former pros that have used him. Let's talk about Corey Erickson, Jason Worth, Ryan Murphy, Jason Knadler, Justin Knadler, Brad Owens, Greg Morantz, Jason Washam, Eric Easley. His reviews speak for themselves. Call Glisten Heating and Air. They care about your air. We appreciate you. We are also brought to you by 22 Fresh, a street and sport clothing line. They do baseball, they do hockey, they do custom jerseys, team wear. I've been rocking 22 Fresh since my 20s. Kip and I, the owner, go back a long time. We've always been friendly. He was a stud baseball player at the University of Evansville back in the day. I still rock 22 Fresh to this day. I believe in this company. Tons of pros you've seen rocking 22. Bryce Harper, Jason Worth, Pudge, Ian Desmond, Andrew McCutcheon, Mike Morris, Alex Manoa. Head on over to 22fresh.com. Use the code POSTGAMESPREAD for 20% off. It's okay to be loud and have fun and look fresh. If that makes you feel good, go for it. Thanks, 22 Fresh. We appreciate you guys. We are also brought to you by Christ the King Men's Club. This was facilitated by my good buddy John Chisholm. We grew up playing baseball together, played on the Flame together, played high school ball. He played some college ball at Spoon River. This is a great organization. They put on tons of events. They raise money for the school. They put it back into the academics, into the sports. They do bourbon raffles, breakfast with Santa, mother-son dances, silent auctions. It's all positive. It's all good. We really appreciate you, Christ the King Men's Club. Thank you. It brings me great pleasure to announce that we are now brought to you by Iron Palm Coffee, located in the parking lot at Soccer World, Lawrence and Durkin, right off Veterans Parkway. This is a long time coming. This is a good friend of mine, a very inspirational friend of mine. He's had this vision for years, finally coming to fruition. He fell in love with the coffee business many years ago because it connects people. It brings people together. Personally, I am forever in debt to this guy and his story. It's inspirational. He's been through a ton. I think he's a warrior and a champion of a person. So go see Iron Palm Coffee in the parking lot at Soccer World. Put some iron in your blood. We appreciate you, Iron Palm Coffee. We are also brought to you by Cardinal Cleaning. They can be reached at cardinalcleaningonline.com and 217-679-6567. The owner-operator, Adam Springer, local baseball dude, family friend, standout at Chatham Glenwood in the mid-90s, also had a stellar career at Rend Lake and Kentucky Wesleyan. Cardinal Cleaning can take care of any cleaning needs you have. Home, business, restaurant, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever you need, they can take care of you. Get a hold of Cardinal Cleaning. They'll do the rest. This is going to be Adam Springer telling a story about Corey being the least afraid of heights, leading us in.
this guy is the least scared of heights of anybody I've ever been around in my life.
Really?
Yeah. So again, he may or may not admit to certain things that he's done, but as far as, say, just hypothetically, maybe climbing the light pole at, Lanford Park, like several times, and just like hanging out up there.
Quit bullshitting around. Give me the story.
Fucking he climbs up the light pole and hangs out up there. There's no handles. He shimmied up the light pole and hangs out, and it's storming out, and it's not what you should be doing. It's not safe, and he could care less. He just is hanging out at the top of Lanford Park's pole.
Man, that's crazy.
I witnessed it.
Just more Corey stuff like that.
Yeah, right. I don't know. He says there's no handles that I shimmied up it. There's no way I wrap my legs around that pole and crank my way all the way up there.
For the sake of the story, I'm going to believe it that there were no handles and you were like Tarzan.
Yeah.
Shimmying your way up there.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
That sounds more fun.
Okay, cool, man. This will be I think let's wrap up your senior year and maybe some of your draft experience, and I think that might be a good place for us to kind of call it a day.
Okay.
So
sure.
Are you good with where we're at?
Sure.
Or you tell me. Okay.
Sure.
So senior year, man, a magical year. 6th in the CS8 in batting, 424, 92 at bats, 12 dings. That led the conference. Also 26 stolen bases. So cranking that up there. Does anything stand out about your senior year? Obviously, there's the draft stuff, but what do you remember about this year? I mean, obviously a lot of tanks.
Yeah. No, it's fun. On the night that I signed, I hit a home run in the Classic. Ironically, to the opposite field.
Really?
Yeah. I think I pulled off of it or something, but yeah. And so I hit that to end my high school career.
Wow.
The last home run that I hit in pro ball was to right center.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it's almost like that's what you should have been trying to do,
Should have done that the whole time.
Yeah, at least use that part of the field. But
why didn't I do that more often?
Yeah, as far as the draft goes, it's so much different now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure I filled out a cross-checker paperwork.
Yeah.
I took the the personality test.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to too many people.
Really?
I mean, there were a couple scouts. Terry Tripp was my scout with the New York Mets.
Right.
There was a guy from the Cubs that came around. The Astros were around. I talked to those guys occasionally.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're as in your face, or they were as in your face as they are nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember as far as the draft goes, I had 2 different batting practice sessions. One of them was after practice, and we played we practiced at 11th and Black. We called it the Thorn Bowl. It's right down from Lanford High School.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you dive for a ball or slide, you come up and you got thorns in your arm or your leg, so you didn't really do that too much. But so the way the field faces, there was there wasn't a fence, there was a foul pole, and it was like 300 feet, and then another 50 beyond that was a street, and then across the street was a house that was 20 feet up from the road.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point that we would turn the field so I didn't hit the house when we were taking batting practice. But so we get one day after practice, there's an Astros guy there and a Cubs guy there.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to see me hit. So we turn the field, and my dad's out there. He's throwing to me. And we turn the field so I don't hit the house, and we told them why and everything. So they were probably expecting to see a a nice show.
Yeah.
But it was one of the worst BP sessions I've ever taken
Really?
in my life. I mean, you can be nervous and hit the ball
Sure.
in batting practice. Like, you don't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was nerves. I don't know what happened.
Was this when your
that day.
ankle was messed up? Your dad talked about there was one time when you like messed your ankle up before one of these.
Oh yeah, that's another story. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean, I just took a shit bag.
Yeah.
Around a BP. I mean, and these guys probably left thinking,
Who the hell is this
yeah,
guy?
right. That was a show, you know. But then there was another time when I was in class, and Terry Tripp, the New York scout, called my dad or called my mom or and asked if he could pull me out of class so I could hit real quick.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, man. Like. So I meet him down at 11th and Black, or I hopped in with him and we drove down there. He pops open his trunk and he's got a dozen brand new pearls.
Oh, cool.
And like 5 bats. And he's
yeah.
like, dude, just pick out a bat. He's like, we want to see you hit with wood.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes out with the box of balls, 12 balls, and he threw me. I think he only threw me like 6 or 7, but. Like 3 of the balls land in the yard. One of them hits off. The last one hits off a house, and he's like, well, "We've seen enough."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it was like 6, 7 swings, and I do remember that because that was cool.
That's cool, man.
I mean, he must be throwing great BP. Must be laying it right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were asking about so. I get invited to the showcase in Cincinnati. I think it was my junior year during the summer, and the night before or 2 nights before, we were playing hide and go seek in my neighborhood, and I thought it would be cool to get on someone's house and just hide on the roof.
Oh, shocker!
Right? So I what's that?
I said shocker. Corey's on the roof or doing some crazy stuff.
So I'm up on the roof, and whoever's chasing me, it might have been Eric Louie. He goes, "Hey, gotcha," and I look down and he's down there, so he's waiting for me to come down. Well, the houses in my neighborhood were about probably 6 to 8 feet apart, and so I started jumping from house to house.
I've heard of this.
All the way down the street, and eventually I got to a place where I was like, all right, I think I'm in the clear. So I jump off this house and I land on a rock or the side of the deck or something, and just absolutely not shattered, but just blew up my ankle.
Yeah, rolled it hard.
Yeah, not broke.
Messed it up good.
Yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
And I had to tell my parents something. So
What'd
I
you tell
told them that I slipped on a rock getting out of the pool because we were down at Jimmy Rose swimming.
Yep.
So and they didn't find out the true story until a long time later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at that time I was in Baseball America as one of the top shortstops in the country.
Yeah.
On a list. But after that, I mean, I shouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
And
that's what Bobby said.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone.
You're messed up.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone, and I should have told them. They asked me if there was any lingering injuries they should know about.
You didn't say a word.
And I was like, trying to be tough,
Sure.
I was like, no, we're good. They taped up my ankle.
You said you could barely run.
Yeah, I ran like a 7
Yeah.
in the 60.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that I was super fast.
What was your
anyway.
best ever?
I don't know. I honestly can't say. I was probably on a good day like a 6, 7 and some change maybe.
Yeah.
I was never, stupid fast, but yeah, I mean, so I didn't show out well there. I didn't necessarily hit real well. I mean, it was not my back leg. It was my front foot. So wouldn't have affected me that much.
Yeah.
But they hit you a bunch of ground balls. It's a showcase.
Yeah.
So they hit you ground balls, and you gotta, you're always taught to charge them and freaking let it rip, and it was bad altogether.
Yeah, he thinks it might have affected your draft stock in some ways.
It did. It had to have.
Because you were getting told. I mean, Bobby told me that you were at some here in 1, 2, maybe first couple rounds.
Yeah. Well, the night before the draft, the guy from the Astros that I was talking to called me, and he said, "Hey, if you go in the top 3 rounds, are you gonna sign?" And I was,
yeah.
I didn't want to tell him if I go in the top 30 rounds, I'm gonna sign, bro. You know?
I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that probably screwed things up, man.
To some degree, yeah. Okay. So we'll kind of work our way through your senior year here. I've got a fun Pat Trees clip here to play, and I already gave you that story, that funny basketball story. So Pat Trees, change-ups are bad.
1995, I was a senior at Southeast High School. Corey was over at Lanphier, and he's got Louis with him, and I think Frank Kolovic might have already graduated by then, but Frank was a big part of that team, and
Fulgenzi.
Yeah, Ryan Wallace. You got a bunch of studs over there, right? And
yep.
Southeast, meanwhile, we lost all of our studs. We lost Brooke, my brother Brooke Trees. We lost Drew Cheney. A bunch of kids graduated. They aged out. Greg Siders was ahead of me. All these absolute studs. So Southeast shouldn't even be in this game. We shouldn't be playing it against this level against Corey Erickson and Lanphier. And we had Steve Backingham. I throw his name out there. He's so good. So I'm on the mound. Coach Heron usually lets Zach Proctor call all of our games. He's our catcher. And Corey comes up, and Don Heron over there is in the dugout trying to tell Zach what to call. And I'm pitching, and I'm like, I'm basically going to throw around Corey. I always pitched around Corey. There's no way.
Yep.
Like, who's coming up next? I'm not going to give Corey Erickson. He's the best player in the entire Central State 8 back then.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So Zach puts down the changeup, and I'm like, I shake him up. No, I'm not throwing a changeup to Corey Erickson. I'm gonna throw a cutter or a fastball outside of the zone.
Yep.
And obviously Corey's a big swinger. He's probably looking for fastball. So Don Heron's like, no, you gotta throw the fastball. I shook off Zach Proctor probably 4 times. And finally I looked over at Don Heron in the dugout, and I just looked at him. I said, no. And he's like, he's looking at me, and he looks back at Proctor, and he gives the sign again for changeup. Okay, you want to change it? Okay, I'll throw a changeup. I threw a changeup. It was probably the best changeup I've ever thrown in my life. This thing went left, and I'm a right-handed thrower. Goes left outside the zone, comes back right over the middle, and he hit this thing so high. I'm like, that might stay in. Chris Jones is in left field. He's going back. He's backing up at Lanphier Park. He's backing up towards the tennis courts. And here comes this ball. And Chris Jones, I'm like, just reach up, Chris. Just reach up. And it hits off the top of the fence and bounces out over into the tennis courts. And there's Corey's looking at me. I'm just looking at him. I'm like, what just happened? Like, what? I told you I didn't want to throw a changeup to this guy. So he buried it. It was the highest home run I've ever seen ever. If he would have hit it straight, like a line drive, it would have broke somebody's window out there past the Lanphier ballpark.
That's a fantastic
unbelievable
story.
player.
Love that. Do you any recollection or no? Just
not-
so many taters,
not at
hard to
that one.
remember.
Not at that one. That's cool though.
Yeah, I love stories like that.
It hit off the top of the fence.
I guess so. Yeah. Moving on, I've got some Loren White quotes here. So he would have coached you for the Steelmen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and former pro, Lincoln Land, great guy, ISU. Coached Corey for 2 or 3 years for the Springfield Steelmen, maybe sophomore, junior year. Coached that team with no dog in the fight. He didn't have he was just coaching it. His sons were young, so he was just doing it for the love of the game. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love and respect for Corey. I remember seeing him with big-time power as an 8, 9, 10-year-old at Fairview Park, and that never changed as he got older. And then I've got a little clip here. Here we go. Man-child.
Obviously, Corey as a player was a man-child. He had a better physique than anybody else, always on the diamond. He was mentally as sharp, baseball-wise. Lincoln Land just won.
Awesome.
Mentally, he was as strong baseball-wise as anyone on the team. You didn't know if he had 3 hits or 3 strikeouts. You could never tell. He's the same way today. You could punch him in the nose and he would just like, okay, what's next? He's so laid back. If your kid, you got a young child, if they could have the attitude he had about just letting things slide off, he was awesome like that. Never too frazzled, never too high, never too low.
I love that.
But he was dominating physically. The best balls he hit when I coached him, like I said, just 2 summers, the best balls he hit were always at me at third base. If they could have moved the diamond a quarter turn to the left field, he would have hit 600 instead of 400 because he hits. His hands were so good and so quick. And I don't know what he was like in minor league baseball. Did he have the same? I'm going to call it a problem. Did he have the same problem of being too quick? But he was a scary man to be down at third base coaching, and that was even back when I was 30 and young. Now but he was a freak athlete. Everybody wanted to talk about him, and they should have. He was surrounding himself with great players. That team was loaded with, you can go and talk about those kids and who they are today, and they're all good guys. I was blessed, man. I never coached a team. That was the first team I ever coached, and boy, I got treated well.
And he glowed about you, man. And he talked about like you guys are still in contact. Like he said, he's come out and helped you a little bit with your house some.
Yeah,
but
Loren's cool, man. He was around. He was around when I was building my old house.
Okay.
And I see him. I mean, he's a baseball fan, dude. He's a big fan of Lincoln Land.
He was at a Lincoln Land game when he was talking to him.
Yeah, I heard
you
that.
could tell, yeah.
And he comes out to Chatham games. I've seen him out at Chatham games, Springfield High games.
Mm-hmm.
Just good dude, man.
Awesome. He talked about him. He goes, I was helping Corey build his house, but he goes, I don't know shit about building houses, so I probably slowed him down. It was more about just hanging out and drinking a couple beers. Yeah. And then he raved about about your strength. And I can't remember who he said you did it with, but it was some guy that you picked up like some sort of big glass piece or something. You and another guy that most people have to use like, some sort of like backhoe or some sort of like major equipment to move. And he goes, you guys just picked it up. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I thought my dad said something about it the other day. It was Loren or my dad who said this?
Loren told me the story.
Oh.
About.
Oh, yeah, we had a big picture window.
That's it.
In our living room at the old place, and I mean, I guess you could say typically you take 3 or 4 guys to pick it up and put it in the hole. Yeah. Well, they didn't mention, or they must not have mentioned, the other guy was 6'5", about 290, and a defensive end.
Who's that?
His name's Carl Ziegler.
That's right, Ziegler. Oh yeah, I've heard some legends about that guy.
Yeah,
about Lanford football and like
Lanford football,
right.
And he's a one-punch guy.
Yeah.
If he gets in a fight,
it's over.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Yep. Yeah, he's a one-punch guy.
I love that. So he just raved about you, and he shared a couple funny stories from me that are for the locker room that are just between me and him and you as well. We'll leave them there. Moving on to Joel Fulgenzi quotes, and he just lit up. I had a great time talking with him. It was just awesome. So you cool if I just start going through some Fuji stuff?
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Met on the ball field as kids. My first memories are playing Fairview around 8 years old. Our parents became friends. Eventually, we ended up on Dairy Queen together, won a state championship. Eric Louie was on that team as well. Bob would come to the restaurant every Sunday, pick me up, and we would go to Lincoln Park and hit with Corey. We would hit for 2 to 3 hours until our hands bled, do some ground balls. I just remember that being so fun. Corey would hit that ball so far at Lincoln Park, way farther than anyone our age and farther than kids 2 to 3 years older. Corey was dominant in athletics from a very young age. He elevated every team he played on. Proud to win the first CS8 title in football with him. going undefeated and beating SHG. He mentioned the name George Wilson was on that team. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That guy? I remember him. I've seen him around. I think he's like a security guard or something. Jacked, like absolutely.
Yeah, he's
unit.
He's impressive, dude.
Unit. And I remember him playing like some like semi-pro football around here and just like killing everyone. Just
I bet he did.
yeah, just like running for like 500 yards like every game.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a tremendous athlete, man.
Yeah. Was he a running back for you at Lanphier?
He's a running back. He was a year older.
Yeah. Corey was phenomenal running the option. Smart, didn't fear contact, loved to hit people, drilled guys. Could have been a D1 safety, another person to say it without a doubt. The Jerry Hester story, I love that one. Held him to single digits. So dominant in baseball. The ball jumped off his bat like nothing I've ever seen. Was insane. Everyone knew when Corey Erickson showed up. Everyone was watching him and knew about him. Corey, this is cool. I love this quote. Corey changed the energy of any room he walked into. And, man, I'm gonna second that. There's like – you might be like, what the hell are you talking about? But there's just something about – there's a little magic dust on Corey Erickson. Like when you're in a room, it's like you know. Like there's people like that. So he's looking at me like I'm crazy. But
yeah.
Let's see. The faster they threw it, the easier it was for him. Every once in a while, he would have a hard time with really slow stuff. He didn't get enough credit for how fast he was because of his muscular build, but he could really go. And got good jumps. Always one of the faster guys around. His arm was strong. He knew how to use it. He knew exactly how much time he had, and always threw it appropriately hard to get guys out. And multiple people said that you weren't like Sean Dunstoning it, trying to throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball every time. It was like you knew exactly how much time you had, and you could beat him by a couple steps. Do you have any thoughts on
that's
that?
Fair.
Yeah, pretty
that's
fair.
Okay. Yeah, I love playing shortstop. There's no better position to play.
Right.
But I did like when I got moved to third base in pro ball. It's fun over there.
Yeah.
Because you just get to chill and that's when you can take your time and deliver the ball whenever you want.
Yeah.
So a lot of times at short, you're in a rush. If you go to your right, then you need to get rid of the ball.
Well said. And you split some time at third and short in minor league ball. Would you say more time at third?
Probably more at third, but I played a couple years at second too.
Sorry, that's what I meant. I meant second. Sorry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I actually the year I got drafted, our first round pick was shortstop. So
he didn't come till later.
Yeah, he didn't come till like after the first week.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he got there, I never saw a shortstop again.
Until your last year.
Until probably my last year.
I saw you got about 20 games.
And it was
short.
But I had a blast too.
That's
it
cool.
was great.
Now, did you prefer short or second or third or one or the other?
More action at second.
Yeah.
You're involved more.
Yeah.
But third, you kind of just be a pimp over there. I love it. You catch the ball, and like I said, you get to throw it at your pace. But I learned a lot about my arm moving to third base. Because playing short, like you're throwing 3/4 sidearm. Yeah. It's rare that you come over the top unless you're in the hole or something.
Yeah.
But at third base, you get to throw however you want. You know, you can if you go to your left, you could drop down a little bit. But anything right at you, you could double pat and come straight over the top and
power throw on it.
Yeah, and it like my arm got so much stronger and truer playing third.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. He's got. This is funny. He told me some funny story about in high school. Sometimes you guys be messing around, like lie down and like catch fly balls on your back, stuff like that, just goofing off and stuff like that. This is funny. Story, not funny, but interesting. He told me a story about you throwing it from the foul line off the scoreboard at Lanphier. Just testing out your arm strength, which is quite the hose. Gummy worms before games. Tell me about this.
So my favorite candy was gummy worms, and I really don't know how it started, but I would take a bag of gummy worms every game, and I'd have them in my back pocket or something, and after your pitcher warms up and the third baseman gets the ball and he flips it to him, I basically just told everybody to come in, and we made a habit of it. But everyone met at the mound.
Yeah.
I gave everybody a gummy worm for good luck and 2 for the pitcher.
That's cool.
And it stuck. We did it all the time. Yeah.
I love that. It's one of those funny things.
Yeah, I don't know if it worked. I don't know if it worked or not.
Power of the gummy worm.
Yeah.
That's cool. Corey never seemed rushed ever. Always under control. Always took blame for anything that went wrong. Had extreme accountability. His glove, he would make plays in the hole that were just phenomenal. Jeter-like. We pitched for guys to hit the ball to Corey because we knew it was an out. Corey knew where to position himself. No coach ever had to correct him. Had great baseball instincts. His work ethic was really good. Always running, lifting, playing catch, working out. Practice was never a chore for him. He loved it. Got a couple clips here. Let's go. And this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it's okay. This is Kolovic's Winters.
I even remember hitting with him when he came home from, in the winters. We'd go up to, we went to Kolovic's Auto Body a couple times, but
Yeah.
we'd go in there and hit for an hour and a half. And, I'd be giving him soft toss, and he would have different stuff he'd work on that they'd send him home with. It was intense. We didn't stop and bullshit, and then all of a sudden, oh, shoot, we got to continue working out. We're here for 2 hours getting after it. So his work ethic was purposeful, intense, and he was in phenomenal shape. And
I love that. Yeah.
And didn't really have by the time he got done playing ball, I've always said, even before all you had to do is put him in the big leagues, and he'd still be there.
Wow.
He didn't need any physical adjustments, and
right.
He could have, been one of those high schoolers that 2 years out was in the big leagues easily.
Yeah. That's a cool clip. And man, how many dang good baseball players from this area have been up in Kolovic's? That's the place. Shout out to Tony Kolovic. For you guys that don't know, he's got an auto body place where it's still there. He's got a tunnel above it where it's just a batting cage and a little area to play catch, and he just kind of gave access to, if you were a baseball dude from the area, he just let you go up there for free.
Yeah.
Just do your thing.
Yeah, never asked anything,
for anything.
Man. Yeah, he's awesome.
Amazing. Yep.
He's awesome.
Here we go. Got another Fuji one. This is candlesticks make good presents.
We were in a game and another situation where we had to get the out, or this is when he got picked up by the Storm that same tournament. So we're getting ready to get eliminated because we just got beat by the Storm. So we're getting ready to get knocked out by a Chatham team, and we didn't want to lose against them, and because they were kind of the we knew them all, and then so anyway we bring him in to pitch in the state tournament, and the bases are juiced. And then when I walked out, he warms up, and I didn't know what to say to him because what do you say to Corey Erickson with the game on the line, right? You got to tell him. You don't have to tell him what to do. He knows what to do.
Yeah.
So I remember the whole time he's throwing to me, I'm sitting there thinking, now there's a lot of guys I'll go out and say certain things. I got to say this. I got to make sure that. And I was just perplexed, and so I really didn't even decide until I'm right in front of his face, and I walked up and I handed the ball, and I said, "Well, bud, we got bases juiced, 2 outs, 1-run ball game, bottom of the 7th. If you get this guy out, we win. If you don't, we go home. Season's over. Good luck." And I threw the ball in his glove, and I walked away. And I remember the look on his face like, huh? And he ended up, I think he got the guy to do a little comebacker to him.
Do you remember this? No?
I don't, man. My pitching career was short.
Your dad mentioned that you would come in submarine every once in a while.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. I tried to do it with my 2 kids too.
Really?
Yeah. No, I never really pitched, man. I don't know why, because I like doing it.
Right.
My dad would always say we'd be in tournaments and stuff, and he would always try and save me.
Yeah.
And I was more of a closer.
Gotcha.
I think I threw a few games in high school as a freshman, but I didn't. After that, it was like, don't want to hurt your arm, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
This next clip by Fuji kind of falls in line with a story you just told. We've seen enough.
But I do know one of the stories that I remember is the scouts come to work out with him, and they took him down to 11th and Black, and he was hitting on where we used to practice all the time, and so the field would have been facing northeast, and he hit a ball. They say he had the wooden bat, and the scouts, I don't know if it's lunchtime or not, but they went, or maybe just pulled him out of school. They're throwing BP to him with brand new Major League Baseballs. They gave him a wooden bat, and he's hitting BP, and he hit one that went dead center. And these are fields that were back to back, so center fielders were standing back to back. So it was backstop to backstop, basically. He hit it over the other backstop into the 4th Street intersection, and it landed in the middle of the street and bounced up. And I'm pretty sure one of the scouts said, "Oh, we're done. We've seen enough," and they packed up and left. This is basically the story that I remember hearing. But
yeah, so echo the same story that you basically said.
Yeah.
He called you a brother. Says he's a brother to me. I love him to death. Would be there. He'd be there for me in a heartbeat, as would I for him. He's so unselfish. I cherish that we've kept our friendship intact. He was a great artist. Not a lot of people would know that about him. He was so smart, book-wise, awesome in math, a brilliant guy. He shared a story about you dressed up as SpongeBob for Halloween one year, and like you came to the Alamo or something like that, and like nobody knew who you were. Like you made the actual costume, like drew it and all this stuff. And,
yeah.
Like, he said you were walking around for 30 minutes before anyone knew who you were. You were just like,
yeah, I do remember that because I made that because my wife at the time she was teaching at Ridgely, I think Ridgely Elementary, and for some reason I got the bright idea to take a big cardboard box and paint it like SpongeBob, put some holes in it. Yeah, and I did, and I more or less I was just doing it to surprise her because I knew it was obviously Halloween time, and she was going to take her class through the fairgrounds on some walk or something, and I wanted to surprise her when she came back across the street, and yeah, it was kind of goofy, man. I was laughing to myself as I'm walking toward all these kids, you know, because they were loving SpongeBob, and then apparently we went out that night and partied, and I wore it around.
Keep on rolling, baby.
Yeah.
That's great. And then last one, this kind of echoes what I just said. The room changed.
when he walked into places, you know, it was people, you know, hey, there's Corey. It was one of those where the room changed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When the room would change when Corey showed up. You know, that's what I was saying earlier about games. The field changed. Everything just changed because he was there.
And so moving on to your senior year, and I think I already said your stats, but then I got backed up because I didn't say some quotes and stuff. But, you know, 6th in batting, 424, 92 at bats, 12 dings. I already said this. Led the conference, 26 stolen bases. You know, obviously this is the year where you're going to get drafted. Scouts are coming. What does that feel like with all those scouts coming for you, and just that you know you're going to get drafted and your life's about to change? I mean, like a build up to this, or
yeah. I mean, it didn't seem like that real. You know what I mean? Like we were still trying to win.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to get to the state tournament in baseball. So I didn't really think about what the next step was.
That's awesome.
But
in the moment.
Yeah, but you know, you can imagine immediately after that's done, it's like, all right, well, what team am I going to play for next year?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just not it's not as big as it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
But I knew what I knew I wanted to play.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to school to play.
Right.
So, you know, I was just hoping that I'd get drafted in a in a reasonable round. That,
yeah.
And you know, and really in hindsight, I didn't know how important getting money was.
Yeah.
And how important the round that you get picked. You know,
Yeah.
it's all a thing.
Sure.
And
How much they value you, how much stock they have in you.
yeah, you know,
Ties into how long they'll keep you, let you scuffle,
yeah,
let you figure things out. It's a big deal.
yeah, and you know, when I did get drafted, my dad and I took a walk, and you know, we talked about things, but I don't think either of us really understood how important it was to this may sound greedy, but get as much money as you can. But it's not about the money. It's about, like you said,
Being valued.
it's about, you want them to feel like they need to spend time with you to get
their money's worth.
money,
Right,
know?
yeah.
And but you know, you hear people say it all the time, I'd have signed for a plane ticket and a bag of chips.
Yeah.
I probably would have, you know, whatever.
Those are great points.
But yeah, so
yeah, for those of you that aren't like totally following, like what he's saying is like, let's say you put the exact same. Let's say you go in the 4th round, Joe Schmo goes in the 50th round. They give you $100,000. They give him a plane ticket. You guys are hitting the exact same stat wise. Who's going home?
right.
You know, 50th round guys getting a plane ticket home.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. They've got money in you. They want to see you develop. They, you know, more preferential time with coaches, all kinds of stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, and it's cool that Bobby kind of had some insight into that, you know, being a pro ball player himself, and Roger too, and like, was anyone else kind of like mentoring you in any of these aspects, or?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
I remember Jerry Fry being around.
Right.
He was I think he played with the Expos organization. Right. You want to talk about big hands? That dude's got monster hands.
Really?
Yeah, just a massive, big old meat hooks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Love that. I've got a cool clip here from Sherry. So this was, I can't believe this is my son.
Well, first of all, I don't know if he ever told you, but I worked at Lanphier. I was a guidance counselor at Lanphier. Yeah.
I did not know that.
So
okay, cool.
I went over there. I was at Washington Middle School, and then I moved to Lanphier as a guidance person when he was a junior.
Okay.
So I knew all those kids. I mean, I knew them anyway because they come to our house all the time and stuff. But he was the baseball players were the ones that just seemed to be around all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was so much fun for me to go to his games because, you know, I got to watch. It was like watching a whole family of kids.
Yeah.
And they were really talented. And then to have him be the guy, I mean,
yeah.
It's just like I can't believe this is my son. You know, he was so good, and he would come up, and it was like you know, sometimes your son comes up, and you find yourself or your daughter comes to a point where they're doing something, and you're like nervous. You're like, oh my God, I hope he can get a hit here. I hope he can get a hit here. I never felt that way with Corey. It was always like, Corey, you know, I don't know. I hope he hits home run, I guess. I don't know. You know, because he just, you know, you just knew. And the one thing you did know for sure was that if it was crunch time, he was the guy. He's the one you wanted to play. And that was fun as a parent to know that and to be confident that he could measure up. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's times when they're in crunch time and you're like, oh no, but not with him.
Man, that's a powerful clip there. You got any thoughts on Sherry?
It's nice for her to say. What did she say in there? She was fumbling about something in there. I don't know.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's my mind started thinking about something else.
Want me to play it again?
Yeah, we do that. Back it up.
Back it up.
Well, first of all, I don't know if he ever told you, but I worked at Lanphier. I was a guidance counselor at Lanphier. Yeah.
I did not know that.
So
okay, cool.
I went over there. I was at Washington Middle School, and then I moved to Lanphier as a guidance person when he was a junior.
Okay.
So I knew all those kids. I mean, I knew them anyway because they'd come to our house all the time and stuff. But he was the baseball players were the ones that just seemed to be around all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was so much fun for me to go to his games because, you know, I got to watch. It was like watching a whole family of kids.
Yeah.
And they were really talented. And then to have him be the guy, I mean,
yeah.
It's just like, I can't believe this is my son. You know, he was so good. And he would come up, and it was like, you know, sometimes your son comes up and you find yourself, or your daughter comes to a point where they're doing something, and you're like nervous. You're like, oh my God, I hope he can get a hit here. I hope he can get a hit here. I never felt that way with Corey. It was always like, Corey, you know, I don't know. I hope he hits home run, I guess. I don't know. You know, because he just, you know, you just knew. And the one thing you did know for sure was that if it was crunch time, he was the guy. He's the one you wanted to play. And that was fun as a parent to know that and to be confident that he could measure up. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's times when they're in crunch time and you're like, oh no. But not with him.
You get what you missed?
Yeah. No, that's cool. She felt that way.
Yeah.
And it's you know, I've heard my dad say too that he was like, man, it was easier watching you play, and only for this reason. When he was referencing me and Casey, he's like, you know, when I watch you play, I'd only get nervous for like 5 or 6 pitches. I go watch Casey play, I got to be nervous for like 90 pitches. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and being a parent, yeah, no, that's cool. And she did work at at my school at Lanphier. You know, she was guidance counselor there, and she did know all of us. You know, I mean, because you know, we were either playing basketball in my house or getting in trouble doing other things. But you know, my house was somewhat the hub for all of us.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Did you take any visits besides U of I, college-wise?
No.
That's it?
Yeah.
Did you even go on a visit?
No. I went to U of I.
Like you went on a visit there, like a official visit where they show you all this stuff? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the only one. Actually partied with. Well, Brian McClure was there at the time.
Right.
And he was the only person I knew, but we partied with some of the guys on the basketball team.
Cool.
You know, and then the next day, just walked the campus with Itchy. But and then I get into pro ball and I hear about all these guys talking about their visits and stuff and how much fun they had at this school and that school. I'm like, dude, I guess I missed out on that
get
opportunity.
That experience.
Yeah, but I honestly don't know when I would have been able to do it.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I was either practicing, or playing a game pretty much from the time I started high school until I left. Yeah, you know, I mean, Sundays was about the only day I didn't do something. Associated with like a team sport that was in session.
Does anything stand out from your senior year that does anything really stand out different from any others besides you had obviously real good your ton of jacks?
Yeah, just having fun, man. I absolutely love football. Yeah, and my senior year was, it was special to me because I got to play both ways. Mm-hmm. You know, we won. I mean, SHG beat us twice. Yeah. There were only 2 losses, but just finishing up a long few years with I kind of said that wrong, but finishing up a few years with friends that I've developed relationships with in the summer,
right?
In school.
Yeah.
Just wrapping it all up was, it was really cool.
I think your mom told me a story about you actually getting emotional. One of the few times she's ever seen you emotional after football ended, because she said it was like your realization of, I'm not playing football anymore. This is probably over with, and like I don't, you obviously loved football.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay.
I remember thinking, we went on a good run in football my junior year, and we lost, and everybody's upset. A lot of the seniors were crying.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is just a game, man.
Right.
What are you crying for?
Yeah.
And I didn't say that, obviously.
Right. But then you had that experience yourself.
Yeah. But then, holy shit, we get beat in the playoffs, and the TV 20 sticks the camera in my face, and they're basically asking me, what we could have done different or whatever they asked me. I don't even care what they asked me, because it didn't really mean shit. But I had a tear in my eye,
really?
And I do remember that.
Yeah, right on. Moving on, here we go. It's time for Easy E. It's Eric Easley time.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Your boy, played against each. He was a couple years younger than you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, played a little bit against you, but you guys have more become close as adults. You guys coached quite a bit together, right?
Yeah.
Quite a bit with your boys and whatnot. I'm a big fan of Easley. He was also he played baseball at Southeast, Western. He was he was Bobby's umpire mate for a long time, so he's, integrated into the Erickson family a lot. He's one of the sponsors of the show. Love this guy. Let's start off with a clip.
The game I remember, I think I was in maybe 7th grade. We went and watched Lanphier was playing a Peoria team. It was his freshman year, I believe, and at Lanphier Ballpark, and it was cold. I just remember it was like almost sleeting, and he hit a ball that and he claims he doesn't remember, which I find that hard to believe. He hit a ball that I swear didn't go more than 20 feet off the ground, left the yard in center field at Lanphier, into the bushes. And as a freshman, and I'm thinking to myself, there is no way on earth I can ever play varsity baseball if that's what people do at the varsity baseball level. And then I realized nobody does it.
But do you have any thoughts on that one?
Dude, he told me that, and I don't know. I sure as shit didn't like to hit when it's sleeting,
Yeah.
Hey, I hope it did happen. That sounds pretty impressive.
Maybe this is the clip I'm looking for. This one is called The Game I Remember, so maybe this one is the family one. Let's see.
Now, like family, our sons have been best friends since they were 4, and Corey and I coached together. We coached the boys together both in baseball, a little basketball, but baseball predominantly 5 years old till they were about 16. So we finally passed them off to get the Gators down in St. Louis. But yeah, the nature of our relationship is really good friends, and we've fortunately been family friends for a long time. Our dads were friends, and Bobby actually coached my dad with a Steelman before my dad played at Lincoln Land.
Really?
And then Bobby was my umpiring partner.
I knew that.
And I had umpired those guys. I umpired Casey's group since he was probably 10 years old on up, and I had you guys in high school, and I had
2 years apart, so mainly, saw Corey from a distance, which, was to be admired. Remembered him hitting bombs at Fairview. I remember him, putting on an absolute show for the Paducah Storm, the stuff of legends. There was a ton of talent around Corey's era. He was the best of them. He always played up multiple years. Corey doesn't say much. He's humble. He never complained to umps, always played hard, went about his business. No expressions on his face, really, when he played. Corey has never been cheated on a 2-0, 3-1, 3-0 count ever, or even an 0-2. He has taken his hacks, and that would be an understatement. I love that one. I don't think he countered hits that went to right field. We were laughing about that. Let's see. Let's go Easley. Likely never be done again.
No.
Yeah, and I mean what you just mentioned that will likely never get done again.
Never.
At a big at a big school. I mean, to start
No way.
and people may not realize too. The football team was state ranked, and he was quarterbacking. The basketball team was state ranked, and the baseball team was the only team not state ranked. And
really,
so it wasn't like he was, starting at quarterback and starting at point guard on, mediocre or lower tier teams. They were good teams, and then of course, with baseball, he would have started anywhere, at shortstop at any point when he walked onto campus. But no, those were really good teams. I just remember watching him shut down Jerry Hester. I think it was the Super Sectionals, or I can't remember if it was at Lanphier or if it was the Super Sectionals. But I think Jerry Hester had 2 points or 4 points. Corey
and wasn't he Mr. Basketball that year?
Jerry Hester probably was, and Corey was he was just not the guy that you wanted guarding you, because he was going to be physical, he was going to be low, he was going to be strong, and good luck.
Love that. I'll just keep rolling here. He wishes he would have had more of a chance to throw the ball in football. We talked about that, but they ran the option. You were going to pay for tackling him. I think Corey was blessed, naturally strong. When you shake his hand, your hand disappears. His arms hang down to his ankles. Looked like he was swinging a wiffle ball bat. Unreal speed. No flaws in his game. Didn't like to walk or go the other way. Amazing at going into the hole and coming up, throwing it on the dot. High baseball IQ. Good jumps. Fast enough to swipe bags. Anyone on the north end around the time Corey grew up remembers Bobby throwing to Corey at Indian Hills. Corey worked his butt off in every sport he played. He just wasn't just good because he showed up. He worked. Overall, has to be the number one athlete in CS8 history. From a baseball perspective, as a position player, I didn't see anyone dominate like Corey did outside of Jason Worth. Corey didn't get pitched to very often. He was, so it's really impressive what he was able to do with such few at bats. Here we go. Humility.
I think humility. I don't think you'll ever meet somebody that's probably got his his book of acclimates, and he's got he's done so much, but you'll never hear him say anything. Like, you have to pry it out of him. I used to take him down to Cardinal games, and he would barely say anything. All of a sudden, Johnny Peralta walked by, and Corey's like waving to him because he played with Johnny in Double-A. And then every once in a while, you'll get a, hey, Wainwright's in my black book. Well, it's a black book. Well, I hit a bomb off of him, and just stuff like that. He's probably got a whole, book full of those. And I said acclimates, I meant accolades. But Corey, in terms of, I think that's the best part about him is his stories. Once you get it out of him, are hilarious. They're great because he's a soul to the earth guy. I mean, he's just not one that ever reached out for, tried to get anything more due to him than that. I mean, I'm sure he was a good teammate. I never got to play with him, anywhere because we were again a couple of years apart. But never heard anything but raves about being a teammate of his.
Love that. Anything?
No, that's another one of my boys, man. Yeah.
Love that. Yep. Easy. A few more. I know Corey didn't use steroids, but a lot of guys did in his era. I do wonder how he feels about that. And
so as far as steroids go, I actually in the nine and a half years that I played, I think all but 1 year I had a roommate that was juicing.
Really?
All but 1 year.
Just openly?
And a lot of them were actually pitchers. For some reason, I gravitated to pitchers, but Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of guys doing it, and from the time that I first started playing pro ball till the end, the testing just kept getting tougher.
Right, more stringent.
Yeah.
Right.
More often, and I mean, they were really trying to catch people, but it's hard to not get to the big leagues and not use steroids, and wish maybe you would have tried it out and see what happens. I honestly, I never did it because I was either read or had heard that it potentially could cause birth defects.
Right.
And I wouldn't have been able to live with myself had I done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That was
totally.
That was one of the main things, and and honestly, I could hit the ball. All you got to do is hit the ball over the fence.
Right.
Yeah.
You had the big time power already.
Yeah. So I would have liked to do it to make myself faster. You know, might have squeaked out a few more base hits.
Sure.
I think the big thing with steroids was, when people are wearing down in August,
Right.
September,
You're still gonna be strong.
Yeah, you still
Those
still
dog
got
days.
what you came with, right?
Yeah.
Is what I always got heard
Sure.
and got from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I've already said it like 5 or 6 times, but hitting home runs was why I was playing ball.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to use steroids to do that. So
You're already doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So did it ever come down like a real, internal dialogue of like, should I do this? Or it was never just like you said. You're just like, nope, no.
Yeah, I never really gave it serious thought.
Now, do you feel any kind of, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but maybe animosity towards
the guys who did
that like maybe like took your spots or were just like a notch above you? Or
no? Honestly, not really, man. Yeah. Not really. It was funny though that like I had one guy that he would draw when it was time to cycle, he'd draw an X on his ass and be like, dude, I need you to do this. if the vial or whatever fills up with blood, he's like, you gotta take me to the hospital. I'm like, dude, why are you doing this to yourself? Yeah.
Man.
So
it was just pretty open like that during your time in pro ball.
It was, man. Like I nobody wanted to. I mean, some people advertised it.
Yeah.
I think once people started getting busted,
then it was a little more secretive.
Yeah, it was a little more secretive, but
yeah,
I mean, you could trust the guys, most of the guys in your clubhouse. So
yeah,
everyone knew who was on it and who wasn't.
What would you say? Like, could you give any kind of a percentage? And I'm not trying to like get anyone, but like a percentage of like how much of a roster would have been doing some things like that? Any given time?
Probably, I would say in the 90s, which was most of my career, or early 2000s, 30%.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
And I might be short,
Yeah, right.
I might be short, but I know one year I was with the Indians. There were 11 arm injuries in pitchers throughout the organization, like season-ending arm injuries. And 10 of those guys tested positive.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So like just their joints and ligaments just couldn't handle kind of
must be right
all the extra velo.
Yep.
Kind of interesting. How are we doing? Are you okay on time wise here?
I don't even know what time it is.
It's just a little past 5 o'clock. We've been rolling.
Oh, okay.
So I would love to get to you getting drafted, and then maybe like that'd be a good like stopping point.
Okay.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, perfect.
This has been great, man. Like you've done a great job. Yeah, this has been so fun for me. All right, a couple more Easleys here. And thank you for giving me that breakdown. I know that's not all players love talking about that kind of stuff and stuff like that, so I really appreciate you being forthcoming. And like you were also like a really strong guy too, so it's like, a lot of people that were probably wanting to do that, at least position player-wise, were wanting to get stronger and hit jacks and stuff, and it's like you were never short in those departments. Right? So that's interesting.
Well, I was always one thing that's interested me about our conversation today and some of the clips you played is I didn't realize how that everyone thought I was like that strong or big.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never looked at myself as like a big, strong dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt strong.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you earlier, I didn't start lifting weights until I was 20, 21.
Yeah.
But
everyone's talking about your high school self.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Corey was jacked.
That's weird. I
yeah.
I didn't know people felt that way.
They did.
You know.
Yeah, and now you know.
Yeah.
Watching Corey coach kids was an honor. His ability to break down concepts that are complex and making them simple to show kids was next level. He was great at giving perspective, on winning, on losing. A great husband, a great friend, a great father. Truly a guy who deserves an entire podcast about him. Always had a little bit of glitter on him. There's something special about Corey. And then I've got, all right, well, I'm going to play this clip, and then you got to finish it.
Okay.
Okay? You got to tell me, you're going to know what. This is called Easley CC Sabathia.
He's got a great story about him. Again, they were playing basketball, CC and Coco and those guys, and CC asked him if they wanted to go to a high school basketball game that night, and Corey's like, I'm not going to no high school basketball game, man. That's why would I do that? And obviously they were in Akron, Ohio, and it turned out to.
Who was this player?
So.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, so I'll just finish the story.
Yeah.
It was just we had a Sunday day game.
Mm-hmm.
We had the rest of the night to chill.
Yep.
Apparently there was a high school showcase going on or something going on at Akron High School, and CC Sabathia was like, he's like, hey man, I got this dude going to watch him play tonight. He's like, I'm gonna take him and his family out to dinner afterwards. He's gonna make his mark in the NBA. Talked him up and stuff, and I didn't even think to ask his name. Not that I would have known the kid's name anyway, because he hadn't been drafted yet. It was a high school deal, and I was like, man, no, I'm not going to a high school game.
Right, I don't care
high
about
school
this.
basketball game in the summer.
Yeah. In Ohio, I don't care about this.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So whatever. I don't think too many people took him up on his offer, but. The next day, he comes in all smiling and is like, dude, he's like, y'all should have went. This dude is cold, and we're like, no shit, what's his name? And they said his name. We didn't know at the time who he was,
right.
But come to find out a couple years later, LeBron James was having dinner with CC that night, and I could have sat at that table. So
man,
yeah, that was a swing and a miss there. And I honestly, I bet the game was impressive too. Like,
oh gosh,
imagine what he was doing to high school kids.
Right. Like I remember, my only I guess thing that is comparable is Iguodala was like kind of from my era, and I remember watching him in City and being like, this was like a man playing with little children.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine what LeBron looked like playing. I mean, I have seen highlights. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's just, that would have been a cool experience.
Yeah,
Spend some time with them, see them play.
Sure.
Yep. So, hey.
Sure.
All right. Moving on to the Mittmander, Kenny Gand. And I can't, you've obviously watched or seen Eastbound and Down. You're Kenny Powers. No?
Uh-uh.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll skip that then. But there's a baseball show that came out in like 2010-ish, I believe, that it's Danny McBride. It's a comedy. It's loosely based off of John Rocker, but it's like Kenny Powers. But that's how they say his name. But it's like a big spoof on this like baseball thing. Check it out sometime.
Yeah.
But,
what's it on?
It's on HBO, but I'm sure you could find it anyway.
Right.
But okay, the Mittmander himself. First of all, go see this guy if you need to get your mitt right. He will do it. He is the absolute man when it comes to that. His teammates gravitated towards him. His job assignment in basketball was always guarding the best player on the other team. Yanked a ton of balls, foul out, huge forearms, huge hands. You have to rank him up there with Jason Worth, P.J. Finnegan, the Matons, all those elite guys that had, that extra something special. Was never a beat-my-chest guy. Bobby is and was the best umpire around, hands down. That's cool. Tough to argue that he isn't the overall greatest athlete in CSA history. Corey could have played 4 or 5 sports. There just wasn't time. When you're all-time good at shortstop, in all-time conference, in all conference QB and safety, leading your team to conference championships, locking down future Division I basketball players every night. That's pretty special stuff. And then I've got a couple Mitt Mender clips here. Let's go Corey as a player.
Corey was a very, very quiet kid, humble kid, like you said.
Yeah.
He let his skills and talents do his talking for him. Very, very quiet. I just remember how strong he was.
Yeah.
The ball jumped off of his bat. There was just a different sound when the ball hit his bat.
Mm-hmm.
Very few plays that he couldn't make. He had a cannon for an arm.
Mm-hmm.
He could go up the middle. He could go in the hole. Good speed. Wasn't, I'm sure others have said this, he wasn't a raw guy. He led by example.
Cool. And then we got Kenny Gand in today's world, and I second this big time.
In today's world, Corey probably had a lot better chance because he'd hit a lot of home runs, but he struck out, quite a bit also.
Yeah, absolutely. The game has changed. He would be valued completely differently. I think Corey was 20 years too early.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because he hit, great defense, ton of bombs, but he's going to hit low twos, So that's kind of like what players are these days in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah, that's worth millions of dollars.
Yep. That's a cool clip. And unless you have anything to add on that, I'd love to get essentially to the draft now. And that we'll kind of wrap it with that.
Yeah. No, it's cool to hear the Mint Mentor's voice, man.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that dude for a long time.
Yeah, he was an assistant while you were there, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's cool. And then so tell me about draft day, man. Tell me about leading up to it. Like, were you getting nervous at all, or was it just? I've got absolutely a phenomenal clip from Sherry, and then also a great one from Casey, and that'll take us out. But
yeah, no, I think the night before, I just remember sitting there, pretty chill night, sitting by the phone, just got a few calls from different clubs, Kansas City, Mets, Astros. Just, they just want to put you on the spot and see how long they can stretch you out and you'll still sign.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were talking second, third round, pretty much all of them, and I don't remember laying in bed thinking about it or whatever. But I had school the next day, and I don't even know. I'm sure I did, but I don't recall knowing what time the draft started.
Really?
But I knew it was going on during the day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not the kind of information that is available.
Yeah, different.
You'd have to seek it out.
Yeah.
I would find it hard to believe I didn't know what time the draft would start. That'd be shame on me for not knowing. But I knew it was late in the day, and nobody had told me. And I think I was told that they would get a hold of my mom at school since she was at the same school and let her know. And it was the last period of the day, and I was taking this service learning class, and we decided to skip it, and we just went to Dairy Queen. Mm-hmm. So we're down the street at Dairy Queen eating ice cream, and my mom walks in and said, "You got drafted in the 4th round by the Mets."
Yeah.
And it was cool. She said, yeah, they announced it over the speaker at school, and everyone was clapping and stuff. And
you're being way too chill about this. This is a huge moment. Let's let Sherry tell us through her own words how this went. So she tells it pretty cool.
Gotcha.
That's a cool story because I was at the school. I was working, and at that time there's no internet stuff or anything like that. You just kind of had to wait for a phone call.
Yeah.
And he was in. I'm probably going to get a teacher in trouble. No, I won't, because everybody knows this. But he was in a class, and this teacher had decided to take them to Dairy Queen. It was, toward the end of the year, and he had decided to walk them down to Dairy Queen as just a treat, which you could do then. I don't think you could even do it now. But anyway,
Right.
So they're all down at his whole class is down at Dairy Queen, and I get the call. I find out.
Oh,
I
wow.
jumped in my car, went down there, and I walked in and I said, Corey, 4th round with the Mets. And the whole class starts screaming.
Wow.
And I mean, I was so excited. I couldn't sit still. I was so excited. And
Man, what a moment.
and he was Corey. He just kind of looked at me and just this big old grin on his face and got up and came over. I'm like, so that was pretty exciting. I'm getting tears in my eyes just thinking about that.
Proud mama right there, man. That's a cool moment. Man, 4th round, that's huge, man. It's like, that's such a pivotal moment, and your life's about to change big time. And so were you contacted by your scout at this point, or how does this? We
ended up. I guess he told my mom when he gave her the news that he would be in town after I think one of his other players had already got drafted, or he thought he would, so he has to go there first because it's closer or whatever. But yeah, one other thing that's really cool is, that day was the beginning of my pro career, and my wife was sitting with me, having ice cream. So
that's awesome.
She got to see me from day
one,
and is still with me. So that's pretty cool. But
was she more excited than you were? Was everyone more excited than you were?
Man, I was excited. Knowing how I think, I was probably just happy that all the bullshit was done and I could just go to work. You know, but yeah. So right after that, my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, Carly, and my buddy Lou Dog and I think Joe or Lou Jason was with us. We get in my '79 Thunderbird and drive out to my house because that's where my scout's going to meet us there, and we're going to talk everything out.
Yeah.
So and ironically, my car overheats, and I wasn't smart enough to let it cool down, and I tried to take the radiator cap off to see what was going on, and almost got blinded by
God, that could have been the end of your career.
Yeah. So anyway, finally we make it to my dad's house, and we just hung out there, and I mean it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But we didn't make it like a big deal.
Interesting.
I mean a couple of my dad's friends were there.
Yeah.
I think then my mom came out there. I was with my wife and her girlfriend and friends, but we just hung out and didn't do much. Me and my dad took a walk, waited for the scout to get there.
Yeah.
And then he shows up, and I think he threw a number at us, and we were talking the whole time. I can't imagine what that number is going to be.
Yeah.
And if we were smart, we would have gone and looked back the previous year to see what they all got.
Yeah.
But
how do you even look that thing up in '95?
I don't think you could.
Probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of blind at that point, and they came in. He came in at like $85,000 and like $30,000 for school, and I was just sitting there like, that's more money I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're gonna give it to me to go play a game.
Yeah.
This is great.
Let's do it.
So we didn't fight.
Nothing. No haggling.
No. Well, we went back and you can't just roll over. You got to say something. Yeah. So you say, is that really the best you could do? Type deal.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'll call you tomorrow. So He called us back the next day, and I think they bumped it like $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was that. And then a couple days later, was the Classic, the State Journal Register Classic.
Yeah.
And I ended up signing right after that.
Yeah.
And it was probably a couple days after that I was off to play.
Yeah. What did that moment? And you're up in the press box, right?
Yeah. No, that was special, and it's cool to hear that people remember that, and they felt like it was special because it was cool, man. It was it was basically I went to Lanphier High School. We're at Lanphier Stadium.
Yeah.
Just literally the last high school game I'm ever gonna play.
Yeah.
We get to go up in the press box and sign a piece of paper.
Yeah, that kind of seals your future, what you're going to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
Like all this, the culmination of everything you've done leading up to this moment was all your family there, everyone that you love.
Yeah.
Watching you do it. Yeah, I know this was a powerful moment for Casey as well. So I've got a Casey clip here. This is a moment of joy. I want this.
Well, it was a moment of joy, for everybody. I mean, hugs and tears and smiles and relief and for me it was like, I want this, like this is what I want. Like this is what I'm chasing. I want the same thing. I want to play professional baseball. I want to get a ticket and have a chance to play in the big leagues. So for me it was powerful. It was like it was like a motivation and also like my dream, like kind of clicked where I was just like, all right, I don't have to think about what I want anymore. I know what I want. This is it.
Pretty cool having some impact on young Case there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. These are things that my brother and I never talked about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is really special to hear him say stuff and just to know that I've had that impact on him,
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
super cool.
This might be a good place for us to wrap here, I think, for the day. And we've been going for over 5 hours now, and it didn't even feel like it. I feel like you just got here.
No,
right?
Yeah, I was surprised when I asked you what time it was.
Yeah,
you said it was past 5.
It's been a good experience for you.
Yeah,
cool.
No,
man.
it's good, man. I've kind of gotten more comfortable. I mean, I'm not. This isn't my cup of tea, and anyone who listens to this probably knows that.
Yeah.
So
no, you do. You've been amazing. Everyone warned me, Corey's not got anything to say, but I think it's been the opposite. I think you've been awesome, and you've had great takes, and you've chimed in, and it's been perfect, dude. So I want to thank you for your time and coming here. And obviously now, we're at this moment where your career is starting professionally, and we've got a whole 10 years to go through essentially here next. So this is a good place for us to stop. I can't wait to get into all the minutia of what you went through in pro ball, your experiences, the ups, the downs, and then life after baseball. And then I've got an awesome Q&A at the end, but this is a great place for us to stop. So everyone out there, thank you for listening. This has been an absolute treat for me. I grew up worshiping this guy. A lot of guys did. This is an absolute legend for Springfield, and it's just been so cool. 10-year-old me is very happy right now. So thank you, Corey. You're the man, and be sure to tune in for the next parts. So
yeah,
all right, we're out of here.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, buddy.